everyone, and welcome to the Supply Chain Conversations podcast. I'm Anabela.
I'm Mo.
And I'm Chris.
In this podcast, you'll find conversations about anything related to the supply chain.
And how we make sense of the business world.
And we'll explore what innovation looks like in practice.
So welcome on board and enjoy the conversation.
In this episode, Dominic talks to us about his experience on a very different type of bank. So it's a bank that is focused on social impact. He also talks about his own experiences, and it was amazing to see the growth in him from what he's experienced and what he's done so far. So we really enjoyed catching up with him, and we hope you enjoy the conversation too. Hello everyone, so we're here with Dominic today and we're catching up with him to see what he's been up to since 2023. So I'm going to go straight into it. Dominic, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you now and what are you up to?
Good morning everyone. My name is Dominic Walsh and I am currently based in Bristol, having just moved back in August last year. But since graduating uni, I've worked across banking, fundraising, and the non-profit sector. I also took a little career break, and during which I did some other more hobbyist type of work. I spent a bit of time in Southeast Asia, and then I was also working in West Africa last year. So it hasn't been a particularly linear career path, but so the common theme has been working with people and understanding how operations work on a day-to-day. And really what I've enjoyed most about every role is being able to see sort of real world impact of my work. And that's kind of shaped where I am now.
Wow.
Sounds
Can you
amazing.
tell us a bit of West Africa experience? I'm so curious. That sounds amazing. What were you doing?
Yes, so I was working for an NGO based out of there called Dream Big Ghana. And Dream Big have operations based in the UK, but also within Ghana. It was brilliant. So the charity is supported by an eco lodge out there called Meet Me There, and it mostly works on sanitation, but it also feeds into like a lot of different local projects. They developed a technology specifically for compost toilets, which is now used widely across the Volta region where I was based, so right on the West African coast. And yeah, it's a beautiful place, nice people, and I was well fed for all my work, which helped.
Wow, that's amazing. What an amazing opportunity as well. So now you're back in Bristol, and are you back working in banking?
Yeah, so I work in the green finance sector or social impact banking. So I work for Unity Trust Bank. And the bank is actually headquartered in Birmingham, but I live in Bristol and commute a couple of days a week. For a little bit more history on the bank, I mean, I'll just refer to some notes. It's a UK-based commercial bank. So founded in the 1980s, but it's now evolved into sort of an independent and ethical and social impact focused bank. And it specialises in providing banking services to charities, housing associations, social enterprises, and really any profit with purpose organisations that we can across the UK.
Oh, wow. So can you tell us a bit more about this social banking, just for our listeners and also our students that maybe have never come across that? What does that mean? Can you simplify it? You kind of already said what you do, but in terms of social banking, what is that?
So unlike traditional high street banks, Unity is built around a double bottom line approach. So it means we look at both financial sustainability as well as measurable social impact. So deposits aren't just held in accounts, they're actively used to fund lending into organisations that sort of deliver real world outcomes. So it's quite evident in like our recent impact report we published last year, 53.7% of lending went into high deprivation areas in around the UK.
Amazing. Thank you. Mo, you want to come in?
Yes. So are there many of these ones? Because I knew there were like ethical bank accounts and people wanted to invest in these ones, but it seems quite a unique proposition. And did you say that it was a charity as a legal entity, or is it like an actual commercial?
No, so we're a commercial bank, predominantly owned by the trade unions. And we do obviously have competitors in the industry, one of which I used to work for, but it's actually my placement year during university, was Triodos Bank. I believe they still run the placement scheme, and it's been quite successful since. And yeah, well, I guess what sets aside Unity and the other banks such as Triodos or Co-op in this space is that the funding actively goes into organizations that can create that impact. So for me personally, I work in the deposits desk team. So we facilitate I run the deposits desk team. We facilitate and support the day-to-day running of the deposits, and my role is predominantly about supporting customer relationships and making sure deposits actively run smoothly. So we work closely with RMs, being relationship managers. So essentially in other industries, like a business development manager. So they speak out directly to customers, and I also manage my own portfolio of customers. So I do act in that relationship manager capacity as well. Alongside that, I'm now getting a little bit off the question topic.
Go.
For the context, I also deputise the regional director, so I'm involved in project work and process improvements across the commercial team. The reason why I mentioned deposits is that a lot of what we do sits behind the scenes, but it also directly impacts how much funding we can bring in. So, i.e., the more deposits we attract, the more lending we can support, and ultimately, the more impact we can contribute to through the organisations we fund.
Okay. Just to drill down a little bit further, when you say customers, are you talking about individuals from retail high street, or is it just organisations only?
No, we're exclusively business banking. So a lot of our customers are all charities, housing associations, healthcare providers, a lot of credit unions and stuff as well, and obviously the trade unions.
B2B.
B2B, yeah, business to business, yes. And you say it feels like there's an extra layer of assurance that you want when you want to lend to somebody. It's not just, I want £1 million. Here's my financial statements. You're like, but what are you going to do with the money? Do you have an extra layer as opposed to a standard commercial bank?
I mean, yeah, it's exactly that. So the thing is with social impact banking is that it allows the customer to see where their money is invested. So if a charity, for example, is going to place money with us, it's transparent. They know that their money is being reinvested into other organizations, be it a charity or something like a credit union, which provides value for their community and for the social surroundings. For example, last year we issued local council green bonds, which again, if a local council is placing money with us, they have this reassurance that that money is being reinvested into be it another council in the UK through the lending that they can achieve. So when you go to apply for a loan with us, you have to meet a certain ethical and social impact standard.
Okay.
Can I ask? Sorry.
Sorry, go, Chris.
Yeah, sorry. You mentioned you work with specific customers. You're essentially in relationship management, and you're focusing on specific types of customers. Are you focused on certain industry, or how are you? What is your focus exactly?
So I'm specifically in the public and third sectors team. So we do have relationship managers that will manage charities, that will manage local councils, that will also work with credit unions or faith groups as well. But specifically myself, as my main role as the deposits desk lead, I am in charge of the deposits team. I'm making sure deposits run day to day and smoothly. I also act as a relationship manager as like a caveat to the role. So it's a little bit extra in which I have I wouldn't say small portfolio, but a very reasonable size portfolio of 20 to 30 customers who I can also help to service alongside. And it's really for day-to-day servicing, ensuring deposits go through or account management changes, anything they need really to help their day-to-day run a bit easier. They just have someone at the end of the phone they can pick up, give me a call, and get that talked through.
How much of your time is consumed with that aspect as in terms of managing relationships?
I would say it varies week to week. Obviously, it's not
a lot is the answer. A lot is the answer.
Yeah, it depends how much I'm needed. Sometimes the phone rings all day. Sometimes maybe it's one or two. It's Yeah, it's just part and parcel. Really, my focus is with the deposits team and ensuring that we can support the servicing of the relationship managers within our team.
I find it quite interesting because you're saying all of these things in a very calm manner, quiet manner, and it's a lot. Like everything you said, that's so much to unpack in there. I have so many questions. So I'm going to start with one, which is a little bit tricky. Maybe you might not be able to answer, but you mentioned social impact and a report where you cited a report that you have 50s, above 50s impact. So could you tell us a little bit more about what social impact means and how do you measure that? Like what kind of things are you looking at for that?
So social impact, I would personally define as changes that can be made to improve your community or the social environment around you. So for example, if you have a small charity, I won't name names, but if hypothetically one based in Bristol who wants to clean up the local space and they're looking for lending to fund new equipment. If they were to approach us and they explain, we're looking to just ensure our streets are well kept for and clean, and we want to plant flowers and, I don't know, support the local community in any sort of which way that it betters the lives of your surrounding, then that's something we'd look to support. So it doesn't really define social impact per se, but it's more so around just, bettering your community. Could you go through the question again, please?
Yeah, sorry. I was just thinking about what you would define as social impact to help you make the decisions, right? So it makes sense what you're saying. It's about what has an impact in the community. That's a direct impact, because I was thinking maybe sometimes there are propositions where it's a little bit more vague or generic, or there isn't a direct impact. And how do you...
It's hard to quantify even, yeah.
Yeah, how do you quantify it? Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Is that, do you recognize what I'm saying? Is that a situation?
No, I understand. It's not a situation I would face in my day-to-day role. This is more something for relationship managers when they're looking to onboard and looking for new business development effectively. But really what we're seeking to see is that the organization we would offer funding to, or be it take a deposit from, contributes to society, that it contributes to the betterment of society, that their focus isn't purely financial gain. It's they don't have to exclusively operate off a double bottom line, but it's that they can they can contribute essentially.
Yeah.
It must be difficult. Yeah, it must be difficult to assess sometimes when there's like borderline cases. I mean, what contributes and what doesn't, and who decides.
That's true. We also tend to err on the side of safety with those. So we carry out country risk assessments. We obviously are tied to a lot of financial regulation, so consumer duty as well. It's a very finance specifically, and specifically banking, is a very highly regulated industry.
We teach a study unit called it's talking about social impact, and Porter and Kramer came with this model where there's 3 key areas: things that benefit the business and society, things that benefit the business and things that affect the business's supply chain, and things that are just generally good for society in general. So Porter would say, hey, we're only going to do things that benefit our business and our supply chain and also have a social impact. If it's not in those 2 boxes, we're not going to even consider it. So, but your bank, sorry?
Is that shared value that you're referring to?
Yeah. So what you're doing is actually giving these businesses the leverage to do that, which is really, really interesting. Really interesting. So a small business is not able to do that, but wants to make an impact. And so you're almost like, I would say, channeling where resources are allocated. So that's really, really positive. That was really good.
Yeah. And it links a lot to your area, Mo, to the strategy exploration. So all this idea of having a different value proposition, what you're offering to your clients, even though you've already mentioned you have competitors, but it is quite unique in its
Yeah.
presentation,
Oh, yeah.
that you allowed customers to have that shared value.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, that, Dominic's doing 30 clients, which is a large portfolio. Compare that to retail, which is like millions of people. Do you know what I mean? It's really, really. Dominic, can you just delve into your role and in terms of like how many people in your team and how do you, I guess I want to get to like, how do you make decisions on a day-to-day? Are you part of the decision-making process? Because that sort of leads to like the strategic aims of how you try to, is there a criteria where you judge, okay, these are our particular principles or values and this is our guiding sort of plan, as it were.
So I manage a team of 3 as the deposits desk lead, and really my team's goal or our day-to-day focus is just facilitating and supporting that day-to-day running of deposits. So we predominantly are around supporting the customer relationships, making sure any of their deposit activity runs smoothly. So be that helping with backs payment queries, or it can be anything to remind, picking up the phone and just being like, hi, you have a fixed term deposit coming up for renewal. Would you like to renew this? Here are the current options.
It seems to me that you're into the day-to-day operations, managing the operations of how things in the back office need to happen for clients to have what they need when they need it. So it aligns very much with an operations management role. Yes, I would say.
It does quite, yeah. My experience is also in operations management as well. So with Dream Big Ghana, I worked in operations management, and at Trade-offs, I was lucky to have a varied time there. So initially, I started off in loan administration, spent a little bit of time in product management and working with a business analyst, and I was eventually offered a full-time role at what at the time was a technical and securities department. Now I believe has become loan administration encapsulated for them. In my current role, and just going back to Mo's question too, I do have an element of contribution to decision making. So as I mentioned, alongside the deposit desk lead, I also deputise our regional director. So I'm involved in project work and process improvements. So it's really across the commercial team, and I think I would say that was where I would tie a little bit more into sort of the decision making aspects. In regards to the relationship management side of my role, my portfolio definitely sits closer to 20 than 30 customers, so it's a little bit more manageable.
Yeah.
But
I guess the relationships are much deeper in those 20-30 than any other sort of like
I'm not offering financial advice. Obviously, we're very much about consumer duty. It's really just to help facilitate their day-to-day servicing. Because with deposits as well, we're obviously bringing money into the bank to facilitate lending. It's the lending RMs who have a different sort of type and approach to their role, in which they'll be seeking out customers to, very much focus on what we can offer them in terms to the lending or how that can further their business. Whereas in deposits, we often interact with customers through conferences or referrals, and these are really more of extensions of customer trust. So the better the customer service that we can offer and the better relationship support that we can offer, the more likelihood we are to see new customers come in. And I think that really attributes to the bank approach entirely. Like Unity in itself, our entire customer service team is based within the UK. They're in the head office in Birmingham. So we're very customer centric and focused. If you want to get in contact with us, you pick up the phone and you'll be on a call to a representative of Unity, within the next 10 minutes. That's what people appreciate about us, is that like we are a medium-sized bank who will hear customer needs. And for example, the threshold for having a relationship manager at Unity is a lot lower than you'll see in the larger other commercial banks, just due to the fact that we want to be able to service those small to medium enterprises just the same as we would the large charities or trade unions.
And can you tell us a little bit more about the difference between the day-to-day operations that you're more involved with in this type of business and the supply chain? So what are the main differences? So imagine we have a student that is interested in doing what you're doing, but they don't actually know about how it happens. So how would you explain to them the differences?
And starting off with, you start off with product management. Product are looking at products they want to release. They're considering the implications of releasing this product. They obviously have to check with Treasury and then consider, if how we would provide interest. Is that going to be compounding interest? What the effects of that cost would be? How does that service our customers in the long run? If you take, for example, something like a notice account, we offer a 32-day or 95-day notice account, and these are simply medium to short-term funds can be placed in. You can access it with providing a set notice, and you'll get a higher interest rate. So it's quite helpful and serviceable. For that to come to market, it's quite a long journey, and it takes a lot of consideration, especially on the implications of it for our customers, how it can benefit them, and how they're likely to utilize this. So all of that's been considered and gone from C-suite all the way down to product and commercial team leads before it's even come across my desk.
So it seems to me that you're talking a lot about a lot of stakeholders involved, even in the creation of the simplest product, which I guess kind of interacts with innovation there a bit as well, with how you create that competitive advantage, right?
I mean, very much so. So once that's reached me, it's then the consideration of how we offer this to customers. What's the retention play for existing customers as well, if they want to invest into the product? Then say a customer sees the product online, they go, oh, that notice account looks great. That's a nice rate. This is a great place to invest my money. I know where my money is going. So they get a referral, they get referred by a friend, they come in, they give us a call at the deposits desk. The next stage of that is they want to submit an application. You've then got to consider the AML team, financial crime, anti-money laundering, onboarding checks. So it's really ensuring that us as a bank and the customer are safe legally and financially. Once that's all passed and you've gone through onboarding, that would then all be passed on to, say, an account opening team. Again, this is a rather long process.
Yeah.
You have to consider customer risk assessments and such as well. So before a bank account per se is opened, or even something as simple as an internet access saver account, there is quite a long set of steps to get there. In regards to your original question, Anabela, about how that fits into my role, mine is purely the servicing. So once this has all been decided, it's come to my desk, we can then pass that on to our account management team after doing an initial conversation with a customer or assessment as to how if they would fit, really, if we would allow that, if they would pass our customer risk assessment. Only then would it then go to the account opening teams and money laundering, which we refer to AML and onboarding. So, and then following that, it's the day-to-day servicing. So in regards to a supply chain, it's I wouldn't say an arduous process because negative connotations, but it's long.
Yeah. Just to follow on, so making all these products is highly regulated. Risk management galore is a serious game. So, do you have any opinions about all of these challenger banks coming through and online only and stuff like this? Are you guys as a company thinking about it? Are you guys aware of it? Is it just a fad? Is it a thing? What do you think?
I mean, a lot of market leaders you would see in sectors looking at innovation advancement today would start off, I'd say, as a challenger bank. We essentially at one point were a challenger bank in the ethical space and industry. And I mean, it was only last year we received a Fitch, and we're very happy to have received a Fitch credit rating. So this is what it is. So an investment grade credit rating basically allows us to trade in a higher level. It's an independent body who has said that we can be trusted financially and fiscally moving forward.
Okay.
It's a very highly accredited rating, and the Fitch credit ratings, there's more information available.
It's a big gold star to say you guys are good, huh?
Exactly, yeah. We also have I can't remember the title now, but it's an operational and innovation in impact rating, which we received last year, which is essentially to say the same kind of thing, but make sure that we do it ethically.
Okay.
Which is helpful.
Cool. Because it's so highly regulated, do you guys ever seek to recreate or try new things out? It feels like the process of getting a product to market is quite a big one. Are you guys thinking now about what you're going to do in 2028 or something, or
Most
something?
definitely. Yeah, the
Okay,
bank
yeah.
is very focused on its future, and there's a lot of opportunity for growth, which has been readily recognized in the next couple of years. So it's definitely something we're considering. There are some products coming to market or starting to be made readily available,
Okay.
which are very beneficial for our customers and also offer an insight into innovation, but at want of
It's commercially sensitive at the moment. Yeah.
how much I can discuss.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
It's
just one last follow because I'll let go. Are you guys trying to go for speed, or are you trying to come up with a totally new product, try to like get growth for their clients? I guess I'm just trying to figure out, what do banks compete on? Because I got two banks. So one, I really like their app, and that's literally why I use them. But I don't trust them because they're kind of new to me. And the other one I just had forever, and it just works, but it's very boring. You know what I mean? Like, I guess what do banks compete on? Can you elaborate on that?
So innovation in banking is inherently quite structured compared to other sectors. This
Yeah,
is because, as I mentioned, you've got regulatory constraints, risk
yeah,
considerations,
yeah.
and legacy systems that you have to work with as well.
Mm.
It's rarely, and then obviously you have these challenger banks coming in digital, but it's rarely about rapid disruptive change. It tends to be incremental and very focused on solving the specific operational or customer problems, at least for us, when we have such a high customer focus. I'd say a lot of the innovation actually comes from frontline insight, and this is speaking from a Unity perspective. So relationship managers, operations teams like myself, and customer feedback rather than the sort of traditional top-down strategy alone. Because of that, most of the effective innovation tends to be practical. So again, it's improving process, improving our data quality, or making our customer experience smoother. So while there is the opportunity to bring out innovative products or offer, I don't know, I know Monzo, for example, offers the small personal savings options where you can do the count up each day and such and so forth. Brilliant, great for the average personal retail banker, but for us, we're considering the businesses that we work with and how we can essentially make their day smoother. So that's our focus. It's just on building value for the customer rather than any of the, for want of a better word, flashy new products that could draw our eyes in.
Yeah.
I think
So this, just to so what Dominic was saying in his own language, was all about value chain, making it a tailored value. A guy called Porto, he talks about that all the time. Really catering for your customer, giving them exactly what they want, and actually excluding other customers at that expense. You're like, this is our customer. So, other banks will be open on Saturday. Well, our customer's not doesn't want to go to a bank on a Saturday, so we don't offer it. So it's really tailoring. So that speaks hand to glove to ideas of Porter, and actually positioning yourself in the market to cater for a particular sector.
Yeah, and just wanted to link to that further, Mo, from an operations perspective. What you're really saying is, when we're talking about, and we explain to our students about this idea of the performance objectives, the operations performance objectives, you have quality, speed, dependability, cost, flexibility, and sustainability. So it seems to me, from what you described, that it's very highly focused on the speed to market, and the speed in which you provide the things to your customers, also maybe the quality of what you are delivering to the customers. So it's a different proposition, maybe not flexibility in terms of having a wide range of possibilities. That's maybe not as exciting, and maybe that, Mo, brings back to your comment on why you prefer one bank to the other as well. It's linking us to this idea of companies pursuing, operationally speaking, highlighting certain performance objectives and making trade-offs between those performance objectives that they are selecting to focus on, aligned with their value proposition that you just mentioned there, with Porter's reference. But I'll shut up now because Chris is dying to come in, so let him speak.
I mean, you've said so much about innovation, Dominic. Quite a lot of important terms there to mention. I mean, it's interesting how innovation in products in banks is only incremental, and it's essentially so relying on the constraints that this industry always has and always will have. But you focused a bit more on the process innovation, and that's essentially where the bank can differentiate itself. And that's an interesting point that I had a question about that earlier. How do you involve, or to what extent can you involve other stakeholders in the development of process innovation? Do you integrate your customers, or do you look at competitors and what they do? How do you improve the processes? And maybe you can tell us a bit more about that.
I mean, certainly, yeah. So for external stakeholders, such as our customers, we very much take on customer feedback. We have an open, almost mislabeled complaints line, effectively. But if a customer has any issue, we, as relationship managers, or myself as the deposit desk lead, will go out and contact and say, what challenges did you face here? Did you have any issues? What was a barrier you came up against in this process? It's really about the external stakeholder feedback that we can get and see how that can inform us. Internally, yeah, it's very much about, we have a lot of cross-departmental discussion. It's very much for example, we have a product that we were looking to launch. The product was passed across to myself and the rest of the team in the commercial team. We understand we have some questions, and therefore we have a focus group booked next week where we can all get in the office, sit down, and really grill each other. I think it's very important to consider both internal and external stakeholders when you're looking for that innovation or when you're looking for those new products.
Yes, and also what you just said is that the bank is innovative in its nature, because you don't just come up with these ideas, but you have clear processes in place to potentially investigate the opportunities that these process innovations could lead to, and you have decision processes to actually investigate that with that focus group. I think that's really interesting. So the extent to which you are involved in that innovation process as a client-facing individual, I think talks quite a lot about the innovativeness of the bank itself. Do you see any kind of difference, or how do you compare that to Triodos? Because you worked in a different comparable bank. What are your thoughts?
Working for Triodos, so I worked in the lending side of commercial. So I worked in business banking, and at the time a technical and securities officer, but really my role was focused predominantly on loan administration. Triodos, with its attitude towards innovation, I think is good. It's positive. There's a lot of internal communication. As I said, even as an intern, I spent time with the product manager. I deputized the business banking analyst. I got a very wide view, and internal discussion was very encouraged there. It's also, being a subsidiary of the Dutch bank, so headquarters being in the Netherlands, you get a lot of insight into how the bank operates differently across countries, which I think adds a whole other facet to basically the scale of innovation and the considerations you have to make. As you mentioned, obviously banking is a very highly regulated industry, and very much as all financial services should be. We should be held to a high account. We should be held to a high standard. And I think that's something that's very much considered both in Unity as it was in Triodos as well, because we should be serving the people effectively. Sorry, just another comment as well, back to Mo. You mentioned earlier with your second bank, or the other ones, you trust one more, was it?
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a comment to that, because in regards to sort of strategy and the industry dynamics we face now, so I'm actually attending a banking transformation summit next week in London, where we have one of our CEO and the head of credit risk, so CEO being Colin Fife and head of credit risk Andrea Cruz, are both speaking on innovations in the industry. So Colin is speaking on digitizing your impact to motivate people, and Andrea will be discussing the race to instant payments. But the focus and a lot of the discussion there will be on how banking is still fundamentally built on trust. But what's changing is that people are much more aware of where their money goes. Who you bank with is becoming more of like a values-based decision as well as a financial one. So
100%.
it stands out. We focus on social impact. So deposits are directly linked into lending to things like housing and care services and community projects. So we're not just the financial service, we're also a combination of financial service and the measurable impact. And I think that's the extra industry dynamic that is now starting to change.
That's a unique selling point. Yeah, absolutely.
That's so interesting. But also, Mo, I would say that that's much more because it's B2B, isn't it, guys? Because, I mean, in the normal consumer market, maybe that's not as present, but it makes total sense now that you've said it. Absolutely makes total sense for the B2B aspect.
Yeah, it's so interesting. If a business has a choice of 10 banks, and if the bank is the same, but you know that this particular company is going to lend it to these social impact issues, that's a very, high value proposition there, definitely. Cool. I can't wait to talk about Dominic's life. So, but let's finish the other question.
Just a final question
I'm
about,
so
or
blown away by this.
maybe one more question about stakeholder engagement and innovation, because that's what we're talking about again, and it fascinates me how well this bank is doing it. You're talking about straight interactions with customers, but you also earlier talked to the extent to how the projects that want to be invested in need to essentially demonstrate certain social value, as we mentioned earlier. And we're going back to the how do we measure that? But is the burden of proof, is that on the community's projects, or are your relationship managers helping out with ways to demonstrate this? Because innovation happens there as well, if you see what I mean. So how do you know anything about that a bit?
No, I do. Burden of proof is very much on the customer. So if you're approaching us, we want to see that you are going to offer a measurable impact. So this can be it can be quite ambiguous. We deal with credit unions as we do with faith groups. A credit union offers a very different impact to its local community than a faith group does. It offers you an easy non-profit way for you to store your money and to manage your finances. Whereas a faith group often benefits its local community through charitable endeavours or community support, provides a third space for people, a lot of which are disappearing in society today, but I won't go into political stuff. But the offering essentially of these different types of organizations is very different. The crux of it is, though, that they are reinvesting into the people around them. They're reinvesting into society. We at Unity would label ourselves as a social impact bank, rather than you hear the terms of green finance or sustainable banking. Triodos, for example, we do offer green financing as well. We do offer environmental impact banking, but you look at a competitor like Triodos, for example, who may label themselves more as a sustainable bank due to the focus of the projects that they work on. Unity is very much focused on communities being reinvested into. Hence, I mentioned the stat earlier of 53.7% of our lending went into high deprivation areas last year. It's intentional. We're looking at matching the UN sustainability goals, and all of our customers are assessed on environmental, social, and governance rules. So we want to ensure that they fit and their mission is right for us as well as us for them.
Wow. Do you turn down people?
Yes. Yes. I mean, but we have to ensure that the customer trust is there. That's the crux. It's not hard necessarily to get an account with Unity. We are. Yeah. I don't want to dissuade people from thinking the application process is so arduous, but if you have a clear measurable impact, then of course you're more than welcome to come and approach us, and that's available. It's just ensuring really that the mission that we want to uphold is upheld and is aligned with.
For me, what you're saying is just highlighting even more than before how important it is, the work that, for example, our colleagues are doing. So we have two colleagues here at the university, Jacqueline Barker and Robert Tucker, and they've worked with charities, for example, and small businesses to help them understand how to measure and demonstrate impact. And they did quite a few workshops with this, and they work with them to help them understand this. And you're just solidifying even more how important this is for those businesses, so that they're able to get credit lines and do what they do best and what they want to do for their project. So I wonder if there's a potential connection there with our colleagues, and hopefully Chris can put you guys in touch, because it sounds like it's very aligned. So maybe it's something that even the bank himself would be willing to fund a few of these workshops for colleagues to help your clients to demonstrate that impact.
Yeah, you most definitely get in contact. Before we move on as well, sorry, I just wanted to draw back to a comment you made earlier, Anna, around the personal banking space differing from commercial and business banking. There are ethical business and banking accounts. There are ethical personal banking accounts that are available for the average personal banker. Triodos offers a current account for a present, but it's for us within Unity, we obviously sit in a niche space, and our closest competitors are those purpose-led or ethical banks like maybe Triodos or namely Co-op. You've also got building societies and mainstream. So again, while we don't always compete directly on mission, we compete in terms of deposits, service, and customer trust. They also do that in the personal banking sector. So there are options available as well if someone does want to. I personally hold an ethical current account. I'm quite happy about it, and it makes me feel a little bit better about putting somebody in there. But it's down to people and what their access is. So yeah.
Just to follow up, Unity Bank is a commercial bank. It's I guess it's got shareholders, owners. Is there a tension between trying to make a profit and trying to do good?
Yeah, I would say that's definitely where the double bottom line comes in.
Okay.
So we operate off a double bottom line. It's trying to think how to define. So it basically means that we measure success in two ways: financial performance and social impact. So it's not just about making money, it's about making sure that money is actively supporting the positive outcomes in the communities.
Okay. So any decision you make has to meet both of those criteria in order to. Okay.
And you have minimum criteria for the financial returns, but also how do you balance that out? I mean, that's
because maybe you go for something great social impact. Let's just
exactly
10 million people broke in a year.
Asking you difficult questions there, Dominic.
Yeah, it's okay. Thankfully, that's not an aspect of my role that I have to consider. So what you could probably speak better on this would be, and there's a lot of information on our website in regards to this, and our Chief Impact Officer Joshua Meek and the team as well did a brilliant job on our impact report, which goes into a little bit more detail around how that operates. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't speak to the criteria for measurable impact.
Fascinating, though. Thanks.
Yeah, but it has to be balanced, because otherwise you can't continue to help people. So there has to be a balance, a very, very
if I was in the other gentleman's role doing the impact, I couldn't survive. Yes, let's do all this great stuff.
Let's do everything. Yes. And then you're bankrupt.
Yes, that's just not it's not my name. Yeah, there has to be very I guess very highly skilled. I guess that comes up with a lot of skill as well. But anyway, I'll stop.
So are there any other strategy or innovation related questions or comments that you both want to make?
I mean, what I find interesting as well is more on the managing that contact to outside knowledge that Dominic highlighted earlier, with the fact that his senior managers are attending these conferences about transformation in banking, essentially being knowledge leaders, but also probably benefiting from the knowledge exchanges that are happening there. Are you encouraged to attend these sort of conferences, and how is that encouraged in your role?
Yeah, I'll be attending the conference, and it is definitely an option for me. There'll be others from the bank there also. It's Very exciting, actually. The specific conference has over 80 keynote speakers. Oh no, it has over 80 speakers, sorry, I believe, with a short number of keynotes, Colin, our CEO, being one of them. Unity has also been a very nice organization to enter. Has a very top-down approach. Colin being our CEO, I think it was my third day at the bank where he popped over, said, "Oh, you're the new starter, aren't you? Nice to meet you," and introduced
How many
himself.
that was between you and Colin? How many land managers? Or
3, maybe 4.
yeah, so it's quite so it's quite flat in terms of hierarchy.
Yeah, and it's very approachable as well. So I've been privy to conversations around customer council and considering large financial outcomes, treasury meetings. So given that, I'm a reasonably low level manager within the bank, it's very helpful to be within a top down approach. Because one, for my own progression and learning, especially this stage of my career, when I'm just looking to pick up as much knowledge as I can. It's very beneficial in that sense, but also for insightful decision making, I think, as well, because being able to take in a voice that maybe doesn't have the same traditional perspective or linear career path that some of these people may have reached these roles in, being able to listen to a voice such as my own or any others within at sort of my sort of stage in career, I think is beneficial because we bring a different perspective. I'm not saying it's more fresh or anything, but we bring, a different view or worldview essentially to that decision-making process. So it's nice to feel listened to.
Cool.
And having attended, have you attended previous conferences of this sort in your role at Unity Trust?
No, this will be my first conference of this type. Yeah.
My question is, is there any kind of plan to essentially meet afterwards and collect the thoughts and share and discuss and is there something like that planned? Do you know?
Yeah, so I report directly into the regional director. So myself and her will be meeting after each day at the end of the conference, or discuss and see how everything went. And then there's also a networking opportunity as well. So it'd be really those who within I meet at the conference as well, and we'll take time to sort of reconvene after the conference within the bank and discuss, what opportunities may have arisen or interesting discussions or insights as well. So it's quite beneficial in that sense.
It is. What we're seeing there is an example of absorptive capacity. So this is where all my questions have been leading to, is this ability for a business to not just spread out its knowledge, absorbing individuals like yourselves and multiplying these opportunities for people to actually being in positions to learn something individually, but then also socializing that knowledge with sharing that with your line manager or with others, and then bringing that to potential standards, potential actual products or enhanced processes that could lead to the success of the organization. So, it speaks to the theory. It confirms some of the theory in terms of the innovativeness and the success of the bank. So, thanks for all these examples again.
Yeah, I want to drill a bit further, Chris, if you don't mind, because Dominic has given us a lot, and I feel like this will be the innovation example session. It will be, okay, look at what Dominic said. How do you apply the theory to this? Because you've given us so much. But Chris, a question for you is, can you be a little bit more specific, particularly for our students, in how this version of knowledge management within the company aligns with innovation? Where is that link?
In the book by Trott on innovation management, it's also highlighted that knowledge is the lifeblood of innovation. Knowledge flows in organizations are the lifeblood of innovation, and it's essential for opportunities to happen, but also obstacles for knowledge sharing lead to less innovation as well. So the extent to which Dominic, as he said, lower level manager, is involved and is integrated in those discussions and feels safe to take part in opportunities and share his thoughts. That's the source of the initial processes, initial steps of the process of innovation, which is ideation, which is screening of ideas, which is selection of the right ideas. But that has to come together with an appropriate training and understanding of what the organization, its strategy is, and where the aims are going. So what is the vision? How do you align the opportunities to what the business actually needs? And that's essentially the link between innovation and knowledge management is this idea that knowledge flows have to be fluid, that interactions need to happen regularly, and that has to happen not just within the organization, but just outside of the boundaries of the organization as well. Yeah.
Thank you. And from my perspective, because you've mentioned how it touched strategy and how it links to that. And from my perspective, it's as well the step after that is how do we make it happen? So in procedural terms, so in terms of the process, how do we deliver it? How do we make that innovation a reality within our day-to-day operations? So I think that kind of circles us back to the beginning of our conversation where Dominic was telling us the specifics of his day-to-day activities. But before we let you go, Dominic, we want to help you think back to
my favorite
days
part
of university.
I've been sitting on my arms all day.
Yeah, you're just like this.
I'm so eager to talk about this.
I just wanted to see if you remember, well, I'm sure you remember a lot of things from, or I hope you do, from your experience at UWE, but what was your most memorable experience at UWE with us?
So I'm going to get a quick sip of water before I move on to this next part, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it means business now.
Sorry, yeah, would you repeat the question for me, please?
Yeah, so what was your most memorable experience at UWE?
My most memorable experience at UWE. I think I would have to say the moment I landed my placement. So this was, and I'm sorry, I did very much enjoy my classes and lectures also.
Oh, we were not expecting that.
It was such a point of turmoil because I was looking at studying abroad. My intention was to study abroad, and I'd taken the international business course specifically with the aim of being able to have that enrichment and that experience also. But it was during COVID, and lectures, as I'm sure you remember, had gone online, and there was the opportunity was not halted, but it was almost up in the air. I wasn't sure where I was going to go, so there's a lot of practical considerations to make. And I'd sent out the applications for my study abroad, but I'd also start to look a bit more inwards and consider, what would I like to do and where would I like to go from here. And I saw the opportunity come up for Triodos, and when I'd specifically been searching, I'd been looking for something that I could feel like I was making an impact in, something that my work, my day-to-day would contribute to like a tangible change or positive thing for my surroundings. And yeah, that came up, and I went through the application progress. It was a reasonably arduous application progress, but when I finally got that offer, I was over the moon, and it really stood out to me. I'd say an equally favorite moment of mine was my graduation.
Oh yeah,
it's really being able to see everything come to fruition, and to be there with my family and have that opportunity felt brilliant. It's also
graduations.
Yeah, sorry, I know it's a bit to drone on, but for a third moment, submitting that dissertation felt incredible. There'd been a long few months in the library, and I'm sure Chris will attest, I was non-stop in my questions. And, filling up his calendar as much as I could with little Q&A sessions. So when I was finally able to sit and press submit on that dissertation, it was a great feeling. And myself and my friend Sid spent a long time in that library. So I got some fond memories, but also a lot of times that just kind of faded into all one. So yeah, it was.
I'm sure Mo will drill more into that, but You mentioned there that the placement was memorable because you were looking for something where you could make a difference. Was that something that you were always passionate about, that you've always wanted to make a difference? Was that something you looked for in general before? Was it a consequence of things you've learned in your degree that made you want to? So how did that came about?
I think moving to university is often, it's a large challenge for a lot of people. It's a big consideration about, you know, some people choose to reinvent themselves, some people come the same way. It's a big personal change, and I think a lot of the benefit of going to university is having that opportunity for personal development. It very much provides you that. It throws you into a new environment. And for me, I'm from Devon originally, so, you know, they say I was saying in Devon that you don't get much further than Bristol. And it's I knew a lot of people in Bristol, and I had a large community when I came up, and so I was very lucky and beneficial in that sense. But it also got to a point where during COVID and the lockdown, and after this study where I was spending a lot of time on my own, I considered that when I returned to being able to spend time in my community and with friends and family and such, what my contribution to that was, what I provided to those people around me. And it sounds a little bit introspective and such, but yeah, I did some soul searching, I guess you would say, and I started to consider, you know, not just in my personal life, but in my professional life, what I wanted to offer and not just take. And yeah, that led me to kind of looking towards the path of work that could also feed that goal of mine, or feed that that drive. And when I saw Triodos come up, and I started to read some of their stories, and obviously I read their impact report at the time, and yeah, it resonated with me, and I was like, I would like to do this. And lucky enough, I was able to have the support from my university to apply for that. So
thank you so much, Dominic, for sharing that. And yes, it's quite introspective, but it's good that you've had a chance to do that and to grow in that sense, allowing you to focus now on what you do. But yeah, I'll shut up for a second and let Mo come in.
Okay, so Dominic, put yourself. It's from what I've gathered from the interview, you've had a very, I would say, the best possible start to your career. You did a placement, you went to uni, you did well at uni. You went to work for a charity, you know, Dreaming Gambia, is it? Dream Big Gambia?
Dreaming Big Ghana.
A Dreaming Big Ghana, sorry, yeah. So that was huge, and then you came back, and then similar sector, but then a different company, different. And now I feel like you hold a very good responsibility for where you are in your career as well. Clear trajectory. There are so many people, my first question is, there's so many people who are afraid to try to get rejected, to not put their hand up, to not put themselves out there. How did you overcome that, or what would your advice be to somebody who struggles? Because especially students who haven't done a placement, they're not the same in terms of their experience and life.
If I was to offer some advice to students now, I would say, firstly, I don't think careers are particularly linear anymore, even though it can feel like there's a lot of pressure for them to be, and the opportunity to go straight into a grad role and progress is a brilliant opportunity if you have that available to you and you're successful in doing so. All power, and I think that is brilliant. But for those who are not, or want to try something different, the opportunity is there. Most people end up moving through different roles and industries before they really find what fits them. I mean, when I left university, I initially started working out, and I was working for Canary Green, which is a charity based in the Canary Islands, and I was just looking at EU grant research, so Horizon Europe, and writing funding proposals. Sorry, I'm just referring to some notes from my experience. Then I ended up co-founding a grant writing business. So we focused on supporting businesses in traditionally underrepresented sectors, so specifically charities in and around Bristol or the arts. And it went well. It came to fruition, and it gave me a lot of learning opportunities, but it's something I eventually chose to move away from. I think my advice for those looking now to enter their career is just get experience in different environments. learn how organizations actually work on a day-to-day rather than trying to map out everything to a part in advance. Relationships also matter more than people realize early on. So a lot of opportunities come from people you've worked with or you stay connected to, and not just formal planning. And for example, my role here at Unity Trust Bank came from a referral from a co-worker that I previously worked in Triodos. The one thing I'd also add for people who might be a little bit more introverted is that's completely fine. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room. And a lot of value comes from being thoughtful and consistent and reliable. So I think those traits often go a long way in a professional environment. Tailor to yourself, believe in yourself, and just be open to what comes.
Cool. One more question, and I'll let you go. You come across as very reflective and thoughtful. Is that just something you learn along the way, or is that something that you work on, or like clearly your the way you're even speaking it is very reflective in nature? Is that something you sort of honed over the years and decided, yeah, this is how I? Because some students really do find it hard to articulate themselves or, get the right words out and stuff.
I mean, first off, thank you. I appreciate that. I would say in regards to reflective nature, it's definitely something I've tried to hone and work on. Personally, I'm a bit of an extrovert. I've always been quite lucky in the fact that my ability to talk to people and communicate has opened doors for me throughout my career and my personal life as well. In regards to developing that, I think it's being open to introspection. It's focusing on being comfortable in reflecting. It's I don't know, for me, personally, accountability is very important to me. If I make a mistake, I want someone to tell me, and I reinforce that with the team I manage even as well. I think escalation is a strength because it gives me the opportunity to reflect and to go forward. So I guess I would say being open to advice, being open to development, but also just being open with yourself. Let yourself introspect and reflect. It's okay if sometimes something doesn't feel right, but it's just focusing on what can go well going forward. Sorry, I hope that answers your question. It's not something
that's great. I lied. I still have one more question. You touched on earlier about your when you were studying at university, you were just harassing Chris in particular, but I guess your studies. What were the key sort of study hacks and like what was the what would be what would be your advice to students now going into their second, third year of university, get down, or what would be your study hacks or tips? And I promise that's the last one.
That's okay. I have the time, don't worry. I would say connect. So for me, I was part of the Boxing Society University. I captained the Boxing Society for a while. It's a great time for me. I got to meet some really interesting people through there, and some of which I spent time studying with. One of my friends, Salvador, he actually also studied international business, but the year below me, and then went on to do the internship at Triodos also. He's now doing a master's degree in Rome and doing brilliant. So just a little shout out to him. But the focus I would say is connect, spend time with other people and use that time wisely. Let yourself. So we created like a small study group together in our third year with myself and some of the people from my cohort, and it was brilliant. We were able to share opinions, we were able to correct each other a little bit or pick up on stuff. I'd also just say start everything early. I made that. I personally have ADHD, and so I have a tendency to time blindness, and I struggle with future planning sometimes, but that's something I've had to eventually make work for myself in regards to time management and such professionally. But yeah, when it comes, just start early. It's so much easier if it gets that. If you're looking at your dissertation, at the very start. I'd say in regards to that, yeah.
I feel like Dominic is scarred by his dissertation experience.
Well, let me tell you something, Dominic. It's really nice to see that you've shown through in your dissertation through the focus on the eco lodge that it was at the time, right? The focus was always on sustainability, and it's really nice to see that you've kept that on. It's really part of yourself, and I guess part of the advice potentially to future students as well is just stay true to yourself and follow the great example that you have been and are becoming. So congratulations, well done on that.
Thank you very much. And yeah, echo that.
So Dominic, how can students or how can future contacts connect with you?
Yeah, if anyone would like to connect, I'm on LinkedIn, so it's just Dominic Walsh, and I'm the only one that works for Unity Trust Bank, so you're more than welcome to get in touch with me there. If not, I'm sure I'd be happy for either of you to share my work email address with anyone, and yeah, get in touch, be it around advice or just a general chat on what we can offer.
Thank you, Dominic, for sharing your experiences with us. And as Chris said, such a brilliant example of staying true to yourself. And I'm so happy that we university, we teachers were able to be part of your journey, so that you can now do this amazing career. And as Chris said, focus on adding value to the world. So I feel very humbled by your journey, and I'm very grateful you've shared with us this journey today. So thank you.
Well, thank you all to each other as well. It's not an opportunity I expected to have, so it's been really nice that it's come out of the woodwork, and it's been also very nice for myself to actually look back and reflect a little bit, because as I said before we hopped on, I haven't considered a lot of this in a long time. So yeah, I very much appreciate that, and I just hope it can be of some help to someone else also going forward.
Definitely inspirational. Definitely inspirational. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much all.
This was really, really, really interesting, and quite a different type of conversation. We don't usually deal with social impact, or we've not so far dealt with social impact in our conversations. Hopefully we'll have more of that. But I was really fascinated by all the conversation about innovation and how innovation happens. So product innovation, process innovation, how it aligns to strategy. So I think this was much more a you conversation, guys. So do you want to come in, please?
I think it's fascinating how many good examples of innovation there are in his context, current context, and how, you know, within the banking system one might think that innovation is barely happening, and the question that Mo was asking earlier about how do banks compete is probably one that many of us ask ourselves. It was really interesting to see that within those stringent restrictions that they have, they are still able to do quite a lot, and how that's being done is with the insider view of Dominic was really interesting.
Fascinating.
I discovered a whole new sector today, like B2B, and not just B2B, commercial, not just commercial, social impact, that is still trying to make a profit. That is a sub industry, and within that it's still competitive. I was blown away by how articulate he was, and very inspirational. I think all students will be listening to this one, definitely.
Yes.